I don't think it gets any better than this. Hey guys, so today we're going to be learning how to play I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty on guitar in this easy to follow lesson. We're going to go through the whole song, including the solo, step by step, following a tab I made specifically for it. So let's just jump into it and get started. So for this song, we're going to need these 7 chords. And to play the intro, we're going to start by changing between the E5, D5, and G5 chords, doing all down strums and palm muting as we go. So we'll start with the E5, and we're going to go 1 and 2 and, switch to D5 for 3 and 4, then to G5 for and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, down strums the whole time. Then we'll do this entire thing a second time, go back to the E5, and at the end of it, the last 2 down strums, we're going to do the well I as the lyrics. So I'm going to rest the side of my bridge hand back here on the edge of the strings to mute them a little bit for those down strum palm mutes. When we palm mute, the open string should sound like this. So starting from the E5, or the E power chord, we're going to palm mute down strums. And we're going to do 1 and 2 and, move back 2 more frets for the D5 for 3 and 4, then back 2 more frets and up a string for G5 for and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I'm starting again from the E5, that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. After you get that in practice, you'll get that. The intro is pretty simple, though some beginners can find it a little difficult switching from that D5 to G5 when going pretty fast, and that's why I always give the advice. Go a little slower at first and make sure you count it so that you're doing it correctly. The nice thing is, once you have this part down, you have a good chunk of the song done already. Moving on to playing verse 1, the first part of it is identical to the intro, which we've already learned how to play. The only difference is going to be the lyrics. So the first time playing through, you will get the won't back down, no I. Then the second time playing through, you'll get won't back down, you could. Then following that, we're going to play this next part here. And it looks identical to the above at first, but there is one subtle difference. And that's playing C5 instead of G5. And then you do the same thing again, except instead of C5, you're going back to G5. And the lyrics are below for reference as well. So it's really easy to change this up. We're going to do the same E5, D5, and G5. Except instead of going to G5 at the end, we're going to stay on the same strings as the other 2. And that's going to give us the C5 for that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then to finish playing off the verse, we switch back to the E5, D5, and G5 progression like we did before. Played all together with the lyrics, the whole verse sounds like this starting from the lead in the well I at the end of the intro. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No. If you'd like to download the tab that I'm using in this video, you can check out the link in the description for just $3. You'll not only be supporting the channel so that I can make more videos like this for you, but you'll also be supporting the artists that have made these songs. Either way, keep enjoying the video and move on to verse 2. So we've got verse 1 down. Now it's time to learn verse 2, which is still on page 1 of the PDF. The great thing about verse 2 is, after learning verse 1, you already know about 95% of it. As you can see here in the instructions, to just repeat verse 1 with different lyrics, and we're going to tack this on to the end of it. We play the usual E5, D5, and G5 like we have been with the palm muting to start, but we're going to end that here. And we're going to shake things up with some G major and C major chords, with some full-on strumming, switching between them. This is a really fast switch of going up, down, up, down, up. Then we get a break in the middle of strumming for emphasis and end with an up strum of C major, and that'll bleed into the chorus, which we're going to cover in a little bit. And that up, down, up to that final strum is when the background vocals are going, I won't back down. You could also hear the rhythm in your head as G, C, G, C. The final up strum is also when Tom Petty is starting the hey baby, which is going to overlap into the chorus. So looking at the guitar here, you'll play the same thing you did for verse 1 with new lyrics, then we play this new verse ending afterwards. So if I play it slowly, it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, if I go slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, G, C, G, C. Or you could think, I won't back down. Now, if you find that you're having trouble switching the G major and C major chords quickly like that, you could replace them with the power chords, the C power chord and G power chord, C5, G5. But it's not going to sound quite as good, but it'll still sound pretty good. It's not going to sound as big. But when you're doing that, make sure you're still muting the other strings if you're going to use the power chords. But that is an option. You could also skip the last down strum of the G5 if you're having a lot of trouble switching to the G major as well, to buy yourself a little extra time and it'll still sound good. Now we're going to get down the big part of the song, the chorus. We've left palm muting behind, and we're going to do some all-out strumming to really emphasize this part. We're now on page 2 of the PDF, and we're going to need the chords C, G, and D major. Then later we will go back to our power chords. We left off with Tom Petty singing, hey, at the end of verse 2 with that C major up strum. And we can continue to hold the C major into the chorus. So we're going to play this part in the bracket 2 times. And if I start with the hey leading into it, it'll sound like C, 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 G, D, 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 G, C, 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 G, D, 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 G, C. These small pauses on the 1s and 4s will skip the down strum, but you still want to do a down strum, just don't hit the strings, to give the chorus some emphasis, and it will keep our rhythm solid by continuing to swing our hand as we play. So playing it on the guitar, if I start from that C major up strum, at the end of the second verse, the hey, it's going to sound like this. C, 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 G, or if I'm counting it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that would be after we've played that, we play this next little part that is almost the exact same, except that we hold D major and we don't skip that down strum on the 4th beat. This will cover the hey, I will for hey, I will. And then we're leading into stand my ground. So if I'm starting from the hey, that last up C strum, it's going to sound like this. C, 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 G, D, 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 D. So that's and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Then we're going to wrap up the chorus with doing the same thing we did in the intro and the beginning of the verse with palm muting the E5, D5, and G5 2 times. This will cover the stand my ground and I won't back down. First time doing the stand my ground, second time won't back down, ending with well I on the last 2 down strums that'll lead in to verse 3. So now I'm going to play the entire chorus starting from the hey, the last C major up strum at the end of verse 2 so you can see what it sounds like. My ground, and I won't back down. Well, like I mentioned in verse 2, if you're having a lot of trouble switching those major chords around to do them really fast, but like you really want to play the song right now, you could just replace them with the power chords. Again, it's not going to sound as good, but it is an option. And if you're also looking for other songs that you would like me to make a tab and a video for like this, let me know in the comments. I'd love to get to it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to really help out the channel. So some good news when it comes to verse 3 and the following chorus. You get a small break from learning because you already know how to play them at this point. So grab a coffee, have a snack, pat yourself on the back, and take a moment to enjoy. This feels good right here. When we review the tab, you can just follow the notes here that instruct to play verse 3 the same way you did verse 2, and to play the chorus the same as you did before. Both have the lyrics on the right. Okay, now to cover the solo. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, getting into the nitty-gritty details of things, but we are going to cover it quickly and go through the whole thing. On page 2 here of the PDF, the first thing to note is that if you're not going to play the solo, you can just play the same as you would for verse 2 again as the rhythm guitar because that's what's going on in the background. As for the solo, we're going to cover this in whole and I'll play it slowly while I count it out. What fingers you use is unimportant here. If you're unfamiliar with some of these symbols, don't let them intimidate you because the important stuff here are the fret numbers themselves. We're going to start with a grace note slide of 10 to 12 on the high E string, and we're going to play the whole thing from there, and I'm going to count it slowly as I go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now do the whole thing one more time, a little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 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 and 4 and. So like I mentioned before, if you're either not interested in the solo or you want to perform the song before you get the solo down, you can just replace it with the sequence for verse 2 instead. All right, we're almost there. All we have left are 2 choruses and the outro. And there is a trick to these, but that's also why I love the way that Tom Petty wrote songs. On page 3 here, we have the chorus after the solo. If I scroll up a little bit back to page 2, you'll see the end of the solo leading into the chorus, the background vocals doing the I won't back down, Tom Petty starting the hey baby. And in this extra white space, I'm going to use a little movie magic to have a smaller copy of the first chorus we learned. Kabam! What I want to note here is that we're not playing the full chorus from earlier, just most of it. We're actually going to play the same first 2 lines as before, but then we're going to swap out that 3rd line for the same thing we played at the end of verse 2. It's a great songwriting move that really keeps you hooked and links 2 choruses together. So you already know how to play this whole thing. You just need to swap out that 3rd part for the end of verse 2. If I scroll down to continue the song, you'll see noted here that we just go into another chorus and it's played the same way as the first one we learned. So we already know how to do that. We were led to this from that previous line. And if I keep scrolling, we've made it to the end. At the end of the last chorus, we're going to do that palm muted E5, D5, and G5 one last time, except we're going to play the G major chord at the end. No, it's not a power chord, and it's that major chord. So it's going to end up sounding like this. With that nice solid G major, we're going to let it ring out nicely for that ending. You made it! And I bet you it sounds awesome. I bet you're also wondering how you can learn to play guitar faster. Well, luckily for you, I've already made a video about that, and I'll put that up here now. Hopefully you had fun playing the song. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment about what songs you want me to cover in the future. And of course, happy practicing.